So welcome to all of you. We are going to talk about differentiation on R. Okay. So let us, as I said, I assume that you know something about continuity. You also have seen something about limits. Okay. Because these are the very basic concepts which we will be using repeatedly for differentiation. So let us start with a quick review. Suppose J is an interval in R. This is an interval. Okay. It may be closed, open, semi-closed, and possibly infinite, and here also closed or open, and similarly the same thing, A closed or A open to infinity. Any such thing is possible. Okay. So J could be any one of the intervals. Okay. So I have a function F. Okay. Fix a point A in J. So I'll just do this is my J. I'm looking at doing that as though it is an interior point, but that does not matter. And suppose J is a function from F is a function from the interval J, but at A it's not defined to R. Then what do I mean by limit extends to A of Fx? It exists and it is equal to L. What is the meaning of this? It says that fix L, find an epsilon interval. Okay, give me any epsilon positive. I form an interval around L, L minus epsilon to L plus epsilon. Then what does it mean? There exists a delta positive. So that take any delta interval around A. For example, if A is this, delta interval around A will be only this, A minus delta to A. Okay. Yeah. So there is an interval, delta interval around A, so that for all X in A minus delta to A plus delta intersected with J and X not equal to A. This is same as saying mod X minus A is less than delta. This shows X cannot be A because 0 is less than mod X minus A. And this shows X lies in the interval A minus delta to A plus delta. But as I said, if A is like this, A plus delta will be here. This X cannot be allowed because this is not in the domain of the definition of the function F. Right? Therefore, what do you have to do? X has to be in J and it has to satisfy this condition, X minus A less than delta. Do all of you understand this? Then what should happen? Fx should lie in the interval L minus epsilon to L plus epsilon. I'm just repeating this, you must have already known. Okay. Please tell me whether you understand this. Say yes or if you understand this. Quick. Now we want to talk about differentiability of a function. Note in the above definition, the most important thing you should notice is we talk about limit x tends to A, but F at A is not defined. May be defined or may not be defined. You understand that? Therefore, the domain of the function I am considering only as from J with A removed. So let F be a function from J to R. Now J is again interval. I will always use J for interval. I may or may not say, but whenever I write J, you can assume it's an interval. Okay. And fix a point A in J. I want to say when F is differentiable at A in J. Right? All of you know the definition from your 12th standard. Let me write that. That says limit x tends to A of F of x minus F of A by x minus A exists. Most often you might have seen in place of x, you would have seen it like this. Limit h goes to 0 of F of A plus h minus F of A by h exists. But this is much better to use in modern mathematics limit x tends to a of fx minus fa by x minus a exists. And if the limit exists, you denote it by f dash a. Okay, this is a standard thing, right? Okay. Do all of you understand this? Now we want to reformulate it a little more carefully. So what does it mean to say limit x tends to a of fx minus a f of a by x minus a exists? Let us go back to the definition. And it exists, it is called f dash a, right? So let us call f dash a to be equal to lambda. That means limit x tends to a of fx minus fa by x minus a equal to lambda. Yes. Now notice that this function, what is the function I am defining now? The function is for each x in the domain j minus a removed, you are considering a function. What is the function you are considering? You are considering the function gx equal to fx minus fa by x minus a. Do you understand this? For each x in j, a removed, this makes sense. Because fx is defined, fa is defined, fx minus fa is defined, x minus a is defined. But this expression is not defined at x equal to a. Do you understand this? These are the things you may not pay attention. Just like that, you keep on learning by heart, you may not understand. So I'm just explaining that. Okay. Therefore, what do I want? I want limit x tends to a of gx equal to lambda. That's what you are saying, because lambda is f dash a and gx is fx minus fa by x minus a. So according to our definition, what does that mean? That means you, for every given epsilon positive, there exists a delta positive. So that what happens? For every x in j and 0 less than mod x minus a less than delta, what should happen? Mod gx minus lambda should be less than epsilon. Okay, do you understand this? Now let us replace or use what is the definition of gx. This means for every epsilon positive, there is a delta positive, so that for all x in the domain, and so that 0 less than x mod x minus a less than delta, that means x is not equal to a, and x belongs to a minus delta to a plus delta, and x also is in a. So this means j intersection with a minus delta to a plus delta, x belongs to this, and x is not in a. This thing means, okay. So what is this? This means fx minus fa by x minus a minus lambda is less than epsilon. Okay. Do all of you understand this? So take a minute, make sure you understand this. So I can ignore this. So I say f is differentiable at a if for every epsilon positive, there is a delta positive, so that for all x in j with 0 less than mod x minus a less than delta, modulus fx minus fa by x minus a minus lambda is less than epsilon. Okay. So this is the precise way of writing of what we are saying. X goes to a, fx minus fa by x minus a equal to lambda. Okay. If you want to learn analysis better, you should learn this formulation. Okay. It's unfortunate today I am unable to see the participant saying yes or no. Something has gone wrong with this. This is a little handicap today. I'm okay. Is that all right? Now I want to interpret this in a slightly different way. Notice that if I write x equal to a plus h, suppose x is in the interval j, this is my a, this is my x, I can always write x equal to a plus h. Do you understand this? because h equal to x minus a, that's it. This is a plus x minus a, that's it. Yeah, I can always write it. So what do you call h in high school? In your 12th standard junior college, you would have called h as the increment. That is same as x minus a. It's an increment in where? In the independent variable. Because x is the independent variable. Y equal to fx. X is called the independent variable. Y is called the dependent variable. Right? So then what is f of a plus h minus f of a? I gave an increment in the independent variable and compare that f of a plus h minus f of a. This is nothing other than increment in the dependent variable. Right? So let us look at this. What does this say then? The equation inequality star says this is f of a plus h minus f of a by h minus lambda is less than epsilon. In other words, f of x minus f of a minus lambda into x minus a, this is less than epsilon into mod x minus a. Do you understand this? I am multiplying by h or mod x by x minus a. Then I get this inequality. Do all of you understand this? F of a plus h minus f of a minus lambda h by h, but there is a modulus both. Therefore, I multiply both sides by mod h, which is a positive quantity. Therefore, I get this inequality. Right? Now, let us try to understand what this means. This says, okay, this says f of x is approximately equal to f of a plus lambda into x minus a. Right? It's something like saying 1 by 3 is approximately equal to 0.33. But it's not equal to. Whenever you say approximately, you are making an error. You can say what kind of error you are making. That's what this says. So what is the error I am making? Here the error I am making is 1 by 3 minus 0.033. Then I have to estimate how much error I am making. So here I am saying fx is approximately equal to fa plus lambda times x minus a. Therefore, the error I am making is fx minus f of a minus lambda into x minus a. This is the error I am making. Therefore, how much I am making? I have to put a modulus, an absolute value of this will be less than mod x minus a. This is the increment. So it says when compared with the increment, okay, this goes faster to 0. Okay, please wait, understand this inequality. I'll explain this in a minute. So if you don't understand this bit, forget it. You should understand this. Okay, when I say f is differentiable at a, then for every epsilon positive, there is a delta positive, so that for all x in j, so that 0 less than mod x minus a less than delta, this should happen. Mod fx minus fa minus lambda times x minus a, that is less than epsilon times mod x minus a, which is same as this thing. These two are equivalent. These two stars are the same. Do you agree with that? Not this, I'm sorry. Yeah, these two stars are the same, right? This star is the same as this star. They are identical, and these two are equivalent. Okay. Now let's try to do something. Now what I want to do is the standard kind of thing. What is the standard kind of thing? Let us prove that some functions are differentiable. Let f be from R to R. Let us assume f of x equal to constant c. I want to show f is differentiable at any point a. Okay. Whatever a you give me, I'm going to say f is differentiable at a. Okay. If I want to prove f is differentiable at a, you know this. You will see immediately the answer is 0, etc. But the way I will do, I want you to learn that. See, when I want to prove continuity, that's why I asked you to look at the way I proved continuity. So what I have to do is, if I want to say f is, what is unknown here? If I want to say f is differentiable at a, the first thing I have to know is the lambda. That is going to be my f dash a. Do you understand? That is not given to me. If I know the answer, I can check. F of x minus f of a minus lambda into x minus a is less than this, or the other way around. F of x minus f of a by x minus a minus lambda and modulus is less than epsilon. You understand? So what I do is I simply start writing it. F of x minus f of a, right, by x minus a. I want to estimate this minus something should be less than epsilon. This lambda is not known to me at present. Of course, all of you know the answer, but I don't know it. Okay. Now, what is f of x? F is a constant, therefore f of x is c. F of a is also c. Therefore, this is c minus c by x minus a. Therefore, this is 0 minus something. I want this to be less than epsilon. Okay. So, what should be my number here? Whatever epsilon you give me, okay. This is same as saying this, whatever this object should be less than epsilon, and whatever epsilon you give me, this should be true for every epsilon positive. Therefore, what should be this question mark? It should be 0. How many of you understand? See, I am not verifying. You understand this?
Yes, sir. I have understood, sir.
Yeah, good. See, verification is you gave the answer 0, then I check it's correct. No, we find the answer is 0. So that is the difference. I hope you appreciate this difference. Okay. Let us look at another example. So this is, if I put, therefore if I take lambda to be 0, then this minus this is always less than epsilon. Therefore, delta could be anything, any positive real number. Okay, whatever x you give me, this object is going to be the object within absolute value signs. This is always is 0, and hence it will always be less than any positive epsilon. Therefore, there is no restriction on delta. I could choose delta to be any positive real number. Let us look at another easy example. Let us look at again f from R to R, and f of x equal to, what do you want? X squared, x power n. Somebody can tell me?
X power n.
X power n.
Okay, x power n. We will do that. So again, I want to say f is differentiable. Okay, therefore, what in the last I approved this. I want to say f is differentiable at any a in R. So you fix a in R. I want to say f is differentiable, and I have to compute what is f dash a. Right? Again, you know the answer. Okay. But what we are going to do is we are going to find the answer. We are going to find the answer. So what is that? What should I do then? It says what I have to do. I have to do fx minus fa by x minus a. Therefore, what is fx minus fa by x minus a? Okay, this is going to be x power n minus a power n by x minus a. I am sure all of you know x power n minus a power n. If you have seen my continuity, you will know this is x minus a into x power n minus 1 plus x power n minus 2a, so on, x a to the power n minus 2 plus a to the power n minus 1. Okay, the whole thing divided by x minus a. You understand this? Right? Okay. Now what do I want? I want limit x tends to a of fx minus fa by x minus a, but this object is same as limit x tends to a of this x power n minus 1 plus x power n minus 2 into a plus a to the power n minus 1. Notice that this whatever is within the bracket x power n minus 1 plus x power n minus 2a into x power, these are all continuous functions, right? For continuous function, what do I know? Suppose phi is a continuous function from R to R, okay, and limit x tends to a of phi of x will be equal to phi of a, right? If this is continuous at a, then limit x tends to a of phi x equal to phi a. This is if and only if. That's why I asked you to learn continuity and limits. You understand this? Therefore, this is a continuous function. Therefore, what will be this? X power n minus 1 as x goes to a will be a to the power n minus 1. This will be a to the power n minus 2 into a. Therefore, a to the power n minus 1. This is also a to the power n minus 1. Therefore, this is n into a to the power n minus 1. Do all of you understand this? Okay. Okay. Now, if you want epsilon delta, how will you write it? Because you want to learn analysis, right? Since you already know how to find the derivative, okay, there is no fun. Now our aim is to learn analysis. So I should learn how to work with epsilon delta. Okay. Now I proved it, the limit exists and it is equal to n into the a to the power n minus 1 by using continuity. Suppose I want to use only epsilon delta. What does that mean? What is that I have to prove? So what I have to prove is given any epsilon positive, I have to check whether there is a delta positive. So that whatever the x etc. So that mod fx minus fa by x minus a minus n into a to the power n minus 1 is less than epsilon. Do you understand this? How will I do that? The way I will do that will be, this I know, what is fx minus fa by x minus a? That is x to the power n minus 1 plus x to the power n minus 2 plus a to the power n minus 1. Okay, call this as g of x minus n into a to the power n minus 1 is less than epsilon. But this is nothing other than g of a. Since g is continuous at a for the given epsilon, there exists, since g is continuous, for this epsilon, there is a delta positive. So that for all x such that mod x minus a is less than delta, mod gx minus g of a is less than epsilon. So that is the delta. The delta, where did it come from? It came from the continuity of g at a. Please spend some time. This is not the way you will usually see in books. Okay. That's why I wanted you to learn continuity thoroughly. Okay, I'll give you about 20 seconds. Please say yes once you had understood. Jyoti, you can tell me how many people have said yes after 20 minutes.
Sir, except one, all have said yes.
Pardon me?
Except one, all have said yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I think she has some network issue.
Yeah, maybe network problem.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Right, please go through this. This will teach you how to do analysis. Okay. Well, I can cheat various things like many books, but I'm just trying to say how continuity plays a role in all these things. If you look at it carefully, so that you can avoid finding this delta, etc. around. Let us do a third example. Let us look at my domain to be 0 infinity, the positive reals. Okay, and my function f is from R to R, and f of x equal to 1 by x. Okay, now fix a positive real number. I want to show f is differentiable at a, and I have to compute f dash a. So what is that I have to do? Again, I have to do the same thing. That is fx minus fa by x minus a. I have to write. Right? You follow that? Now, what is fx minus fa? We will do x minus a later. Let us look at fx minus fa. That is 1 by x minus 1 by a. But the moment I have this, I know what I have to do. Remember, x, a are in positive. Okay. Therefore, take a common denominator. This is going to be a minus x. Therefore, modulus will be this. So, modulus x minus a by ax. Modulus ax. But I don't write modulus ax because a and x are positive. But mod x minus a I should write because I don't know whether x is less than a or greater than a. Therefore, what is modulus fx minus fa by x minus a? This is going to be 1 by mod x minus a into mod x minus a by mod a into x. That I can remove. Therefore, that this is 1 by x. You follow that? Yeah. Now I will do the same trick. Let me look at gx to be the function fx minus fa by x minus a, right? Okay. Did I do it correctly? Fx minus fa, 1 by x, 1 minus a, this is right? Okay. Yeah. Up to this is all right, but I have to do something more carefully. Yeah, sure. Oh. This mod x minus a. Okay. Right. I'm not very happy with this. There is something wrong. So I have fx minus fa, that is 1 by x minus 1 by a, that is a minus x by a, right? If I take modulus, it's mod x minus a, mod x, that's okay. Ax, therefore if I do that, all right. Oh, that okay. I just need only this one. That's correct. Okay, I'm sure. Okay, so this is gx, but this gx is, we found it is 1 by ax. You understand this? Now, remember for which values of x? For x in positive reals. Now, is this function continuous? Remember, a is fixed. Therefore, gx is 1 by a, which is a constant times 1 by x. That's a continuous function on the interval 0 to infinity. G is continuous. In particular, continuous at a. At a, what is its value? G of a will be 1 by a squared. Do you understand this? Yeah? Okay. So, now let us look at. Therefore, I want limit x tends to a of gx, which is same as limit x tends to a of fx minus fa by x minus a. That is equal to 1 by a squared. Yeah. So what do I have? I have fx minus fa by x minus a minus something I want this to be less than epsilon. And this is my gx. And I found this is continuous at g of a. And I found that is 1 by a squared. Yeah. Therefore, I get g dash a equal to minus 1 by a squared, but I am getting 1 by a squared. There is something wrong. Fx minus fa by x minus a, gx minus ga. Okay, let us do that.
Sir,
Yes?
you have taken the gx as mod of fx minus fa by x minus a. So the minus went out.
Yeah, you are right. You are right. Thank you very much. That's a mistake. Yeah, you are right. See, what I want is fx minus fa by x minus a. Right? You are right. That is going to be a minus x by xa. Modulus comes later, but this is what I want. Therefore, this is going to be this. You are right. Thank you very much. Let us do that. Fx minus fa by x minus a is going to be, let us take 1 by x minus a. Let me do this first. This 1 by x minus 1 by a. This is where I did a mistake, a minus x by xa. Up to this is okay. Is it okay? Fx minus fa will be this. But if I want fx minus fa by x minus a, right, that is going to be 1 by x minus a into a minus x by xa. I wrote a modulus, that's a mistake I did. Therefore, this is going to be minus 1 by xa. So my gx, which is fx minus fa by x minus a, is going to be minus 1 by xa. That's correct. Thank you very much. Therefore, g of a is going to be minus 1 by a squared. And g is continuous. Therefore, limit x tends to a of fx minus fa by x minus a is going to be g of a, which is minus 1 by a squared. Okay. Do all of you understand? And how do I write epsilon delta? The same way. Give me an epsilon thing, then I have to find a delta. The delta will come from the continuity of g at a. For a given epsilon positive, there is a delta positive, so that mod x minus a less than delta will imply mod gx minus ga is less than epsilon. That means gx is fx minus fa by x minus a, and g of a is minus 1 by a squared, and therefore that modulus is less than epsilon. So you found epsilon delta. Okay, please go through. I'm sorry for the goof earlier. I forgot the modulus. Thank you very much. Who was that student?
Sir,
Who
this was
corrected
me.
me?
Sir, this was me, Shadoop.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Yeah, good.
Welcome, sir.
So please spend some time. If you understood, if get out of the confusion which I created unnecessarily and go back. This shows that I don't come prepared. You see that? Yeah.
Yes, sir, I have understood, sir.
Very good. Okay. So we can do a few more things, but before going, I want to do a very, very useful characterization of differentiation. See this, I am unable to see your answers. That's affecting me. Okay. So we want to prove a characterization. You will find it in my book, and no other book has this. So J is an interval. As usual, F is J to R, and A is a point in J. And I say F is differentiable at A if and only if the following happens. There exists a function F1 from J to R. So that it has two properties. One, f of x equal to f of a plus f1 of x into x minus a, and two, f1 is continuous at a. Okay. If such a f1 exists, then f dash a is the value of f1 at a. Please understand this. F is given. I want to check whether it's continuous at a. I want to make the problem easier. Differentiability problem, I want to reduce to continuity problem. Okay, how do I do that? I want to say f is differentiable at a if I can find a function f1 which is defined on all of j, from f1 from j to r, so that this thing should be true for all x in j. No. Notice that when x equal to a, this will be 0, therefore f or a equal to fa. You understand this? So this equation should be true for that f1. Not only that, I don't want f1 to be continuous on all of j, but I want f1 to be continuous at a. This is a crucial word. Suppose you have found such a function f1, then you may want to know what is the derivative. Okay, then I know f is differentiable at a. Then what is the derivative f dash a? The answer is it is f1 at a. The proof is extremely simple. Okay, I'll give the proof and we will revisit our earlier example. You will understand this is all I did there. So how many of you understand the statement? At least 30, 40, 50% if you understood, that's good enough.
So I have a question. For
Yes,
all x belongs to j minus a, right, sir?
pardon me?
For all x belongs to j minus a, right, sir?
No, that's what I said. For all x in j. For x equal to a, you see what happens to the second term? f1x into a minus a is 0. And here f of a equal to f of a. That's always true statement.
Okay, sir.
You understood?
Yes, sir. Understood,
Yeah,
sir.
that's why I said for all x in j. If you want, I make it a pink color so that you will notice that. Okay. Good. Okay. Now let's go through the proof. So suppose f is differentiable at a. Right? Then what is that I have to do? I have to show there exists an f1. Right? How will I find f1? So I have to see f1, whether there exists an f1. Now notice that this equation already tells you what should be f1 of x if x is not equal to a. How many of you understand? See, I have to solve for f1 of x. Can I solve for the f1 of x in this equation? I can do that if x minus a is non-zero. That is same as saying if x is not equal to a, okay, if one is true, that means my f1 of x must be equal to fx minus fa by x minus a. Do you understand? I am working backwards. I am not simply saying define f1 equal to like this. Okay, f1 must necessarily be this for all x not equal to a. Why? If one is true, then I can solve for f1 of x. How will I solve for it? If x minus a is not equal to 0, I can solve for it. Fx minus fa by x minus a. Do you understand? But then remember, my f1 is supposed to be defined at all points of j, but here I have defined only for x not equal to a. Right? So how will I define? And also for notice that my f1 I want to be continuous at a. Right? My f1 of x is fx minus fa by x minus a. Therefore, if f1 is continuous at a, what should happen? Limit x tends to a of f1 of x must be equal to f1 at a. Right? But limit x tends to a of f1 of x is same as saying limit x tends to a. What is f1 of x? Fx minus fa by x minus a. But what do I know about f? F is differentiable at a. Therefore, as limit x tends to a, fx minus fa by x minus a, this exists and it's equal to f dash a. Do you understand? Therefore, how will I define f1 of a? F dash a if x equal to a. Please spend some time. This is not the way your teachers will explain. I am actually deducing what should be my f1. Is this clear? Right. Next, I have defined f1 for all x in j not equal to a. But at a, I have to define f1 at a. right? But remember, my second condition says such an f1 must also be continuous at A. If this theorem is true, then limit x tends to A of f1 x must exist. Okay, and since f is continuous, f1 is continuous at A, that limit should be f1 at A. Okay, therefore the limit of this should exist. The difference quotient fx minus fa by x minus a. Since f is differentiable, I know that limit exists, that is f dash a. Therefore, I have to define f1 of x to be f1 of a to be f dash a. This is the motivation. Now, like your textbook, you can simply forget all these things. Define. That's what teachers will say. Define f1 of x equal to fx minus fa by x minus a for x not equal to a and equal to f dash a. Now I motivated how I got it. Okay. Now what are the things I have to check about f1? Whether f1 satisfies the first condition. It satisfies, because what is f1 of x? f1 of x equal to, you see that? f1 of x, this is equal to fx minus fa equal to f1 of x into x minus a for x not equal to a. But then x equal to a also it is true, because f1 of a is f dash of a into this is 0. Therefore, this is always true for all x. How many of you understand this?
Understood,
Cross
sir.
multiply, then I have f of x minus f of a equal to f1 of x into x minus a. This is true for x not equal to a, but x equal to a, then f1 of a will be f dash of a, but then this is 0. Therefore, this is a, therefore fx equal to fa plus f1 of x into x minus a is always true for all x in j. Do you understand this? Next, I have to say f1 is continuous at a. To show f1 is continuous at a, what I have to do? I can use the limit definition. X tends to a of f1 of x. I have to check whether it is equal to f1 of a. But that is correct. That is f dash of a. Okay. How many have you understood? Please pause, review, proceed. Please say yes if you had understood. How many had answered, Jyoti?
Understood, sir.
Okay. Now we have to prove the converse. What is the converse? Let us assume f1 exists with 1 and 2 true. Okay. Then I have to say f is differentiable at a. Right? I have to check that. So, to check f is differentiable at a, according to our definition, what should I do? I have to show f of x minus f of a by x minus a minus some lambda. Okay, that is limit x tends to a. This exists and call it lambda. Right? Now let us do that. Okay, since f1 exists, what is fx? Fx is in terms of f1, it is f of a plus f1 of x into x minus a. This is for all x, in particular for x is not equal to a also. Do you understand that? Therefore, I can substitute this value of fx in this difference quotient. Therefore, limit x tends to a of f of a plus f1 of x into x minus a minus fa by x minus a. I have to say this limit exists. Do all of you understand? But what is this? The numerator is fa cancel and f1x into x minus a by x minus a. Remember, whenever you take limit x tends to a, x is not equal to a. Therefore, x minus a is non-zero. This is also non-zero. Therefore, this is nothing other than f1 of x. Do you understand this? But f1 is continuous at a. And therefore, limit x tends to a of f1 of x is f1 of a. Do you understand? Therefore, I have shown this limit exists and this limit is nothing other than f1 of a. Therefore, this limit exists. That means f is differentiable at a and the derivative is f1 at a. So, I have proved the result. This is very easy. Don't get confused. Okay. Instead of writing line by line and checking, I am thinking aloud. Okay. Those of you who are new to my way of doing things, you will require little practice. That is why I suggested you should go through my video lectures so that you get used to my style of teaching. So how many of you understood this? Please say yes. And Jyoti, count and tell me.
Yes, sir.
Almost all?
Yes, sir.
Yes. If there is somebody who has not understood,
Only
please.
one.
Yeah, who is that? Please unmute and ask the question.
Someone Rito Provo.
Maybe a network problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's go back to the earlier problem. You will be surprised. That's what I did. Okay. In my book, that's not the way I've done. Okay. Let's go back. What did I do? Let us look at, for example, this case. Okay. F of x equal to x power n. Right. What did I do now? You can see I showed f of x minus f of a by x minus a is some phi of x. That is why g of x. You understand that? Let me go through it once again quickly. So let us look at the case f of x equal to x power n on R. Okay. Then f of x minus f of a is x power n minus a power n. This I wrote as x minus a into x power n minus 1 plus a to the power n minus 1. Do you understand? This is my f1 of x. Do you understand? So I wrote fx equal to fa plus f1 of x into x minus a. Now this f1 is defined on all of R, and is it continuous at a? Yes, it's a polynomial in x, therefore it's continuous at a. Therefore, what is the derivative? The derivative is f1 at a. What is f1 at a? A to the power n minus 1 n times. Therefore, the answer is n into a to the power n minus 1. How many of you understand this? This all I did in the last when I computed that example, the derivative of this function. And let's look at the other function fx equal to 1 by x for x positive. Then what did I do here? I wrote fx minus fa equal to let me make sure that I'm not writing wrongly this time. Ax. Am I right? Yeah. 1 by x minus 1 by a xa into a minus x, right? Okay. This I can write as minus 1 by ax into x minus a. Therefore, what is my f1 fx here? Fx minus fa is something into x minus a. Therefore, I can take f1 of x to be minus 1 by ax. You remember, a is a fixed number, x is a variable, but all are positive. Therefore, this function is continuous on all of R. Sorry, on all of positive real numbers. In particular at a. Therefore, what is the value of f1 at a? That is minus 1 by a square. How many of you appreciate what I have done? You see that I reduced the problem of differentiation epsilon delta to something to do with continuity and using the facts about continuity so that life is easier for us. And also it makes the proofs more transparent. Okay? Do you appreciate this? Okay. This is very useful. If you have watched my video on continuity, you would have seen the algebra of continuous function I reduced to algebra of convergence sequences. Now I introduce continuity characterization for differentiability. Therefore, algebra of differentiable functions I can reduce to algebra of continuous functions. Okay, let me start. Do first two, the rest we will do in the next lecture. Suppose f and g are functions from, okay, before that, suppose f is j to r and f is differentiable at a, Then I want to say this is the usual theorem, f is continuous at A. Yeah, I claim that is obvious. How many of you can see that now? Because if f is differentiable at A, I know there is a function so that fx equal to fa plus f1 of x into x minus A. Do you understand this? And what do I know about f1? F1 is continuous at A. Right? Now let's look at, I want to say f is continuous at A. This is what I want to check. But fx equal to fa plus f1x into x minus A. Now notice that fa is a constant function. Therefore, this is continuous at every point. And x minus A is again continuous at all points. In particular, it is continuous at A. And f1 is continuous at A. Therefore, by algebra of continuous function, this is the product of continuous function. Therefore, this is continuous at A. And this is continuous. And sum of all continuous functions is continuous. Therefore, this right side function is continuous at A. That means my f is continuous at A. How many of you understood this proof?
I have understood, sir.
Very good. Now you see the proof, how easy it is. We reduce the problem to something we had already seen. Therefore, life is much easier. See, this is what the mathematics principle is. Problem solving means if you have a big problem, reduce to a small problem, which you had already seen. You know how to solve it. Therefore, this problem gets solved. Okay. This is the standard trick. So any differentiability problem, I reduce to something to do with continuity. And there we use the theorems which we already know. That's all I did. Do all of you agree with this? Is it all right now? So we proved that it's continuous at A. Okay. Now, is there anything else I would like to say about this? Yeah. Since I have only about 5 minutes, okay, I started 4:05. Let me finish at 5:05. Let me just do one simple things. F and G are differentiable at A. Then I have a new function f plus G. This is a function from J to R. How is it defined? This is defined as fx plus gx. What do I want to know? I want to know whether f plus g is differentiable at A. Right? So if I want to check differentiable at A, what all I have to do is I can take the limit concept, or I can use the characterization in terms of continuous function. So that means call this as phi. Then what do I want is I want to find phi x equal to phi A plus phi 1 of x into x minus A, where phi 1 must be a function from J to R and continuous at A, satisfying this property. So whether I can find a phi 1 like this and phi 1 continuous at A. Do all of you understand? Okay, how do I do that? That's very easy, because what is phi of x? Phi of x is f plus g at x. That is fx plus gx. Right? But remember, f is differentiable at A, therefore I can write fx as f of A plus some function f1 of x. This function is also unique, notice that, into x minus A, where f1 is continuous at A. G of x equal to g of A plus g1 of x into x minus A. Therefore, fx plus gx will be fa plus ga fa plus ga. Okay, I'm adding this plus f1 of x into g1 of x into x minus A. Note, yeah, what is that? This is nothing other than phi of x. This is phi of x. This is equal to phi of A into something into x minus A. Therefore, how will I define my phi 1? I define phi 1 of x to be this, where phi 1 of x equal to f1 of x plus g1 of x. You see that it just Beautiful, very easy way of deriving, right? Okay, so I have written phi of x equal to phi of a plus phi 1 of x into x minus a. This is true for all x in j. That's fine. Next, what I have to check? I have to check whether phi 1 is continuous at a. Yeah, but phi 1 is a sum of two functions f1 plus g1, and f1 is continuous at a, g1 is continuous at a. Therefore, by algebra of continuous function, phi 1 is continuous at a. Therefore, we have proved the function f plus g is differentiable at a. Next, what is the derivative? The derivative is phi 1 at a. Okay, therefore, the derivative of f plus g dash at a must be equal to phi 1 at a. But what is phi 1? f1 at a plus g1 at a. But what is f1 at a? F is differentiable. Therefore, f1 at a is f dash a plus g dash a. That means we have proved f plus g dash at x equal to f dash at x plus g dash x at x, wherever x is differentiable. Have you understood this?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay. In
Sir,
the
understood,
next
sir.
lecture, yeah, please. Can I go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I will stop here, stop sharing. Yeah. Now you can see, please go through this. I'm sorry for one of the goofing in the quotient 1 by x, but thanks for the guy who corrected me where the mistake occurred. Very good. So please go through it. You will see how easy it is. This is a standard way of doing mathematics. Whatever problem you have, reduce to some problem which you had already seen and make use of the theory so that you don't have to keep repeating the same kind of arguments. This is what mathematics does. Okay, all the best. We will meet again tomorrow.